Hi, my name is Jerry Roque. I'm here on the Coaches Show, reporting to you for 90.1 KBPK. I'm here at Colleen Riley Court, where we just got done watching some volleyball action. We have some water polo action from you earlier this week as well. Hi, my name is Jerry here at Colleen Riley Court. I'm joined by sophomore outside hitter Moretta Poe. We just got done watching your guys' match against the Dons. Fortunately, didn't go your guys' way. What were some of the key things that you guys thought were missing today?
Just a lot of communications and just hustling for the ball. But obviously, the energy also was missing on and off the court due to some of our players out on injuries. But for the most part, I feel like we all gave it all on a third set, which we should have just kept that momentum during the whole game. Other than that, it was just everybody going for the ball.
What are some of the things that clicked between the second and the third set that really helped you guys start to bring that momentum forward?
We had a new lineup for all three sets, but I think it was just the attitude. We're just we're not done here, and we have new players in different positions, but we're gonna make do with it, and we're just gonna go on, just ball out.
So Moretta, you are one of the Orange Empire Conference leaders in kills. I believe you rank 5th or 6th on that list, which is pretty high in comparison to the rest of the league. What are some?
It's
Sorry,
okay.
I started losing as well. So, Moretta, you are one of the leaders in the Orange Empire Conference for kills. What does that do for you guys in this game and for the rest of the season?
For me personally, I just feel like I'm lucky to be a part of a team where they can rely on me as a go-to player. But also, I wouldn't be able to be that ranked high because of my DS and my liberos and my setters. We just come in, put in the work, and just being a go-to player, like I said in the beginning, it's amazing to know that they rely on me so much and that they can go to me whenever we're in a tight situation.
And you have been such a powerful outside striker.
Thank you.
We've seen that. We saw that a lot last week. You're one of the lead scorers in striking for the Orange Empire Conference, and you had said that it's very good that your teammates trust you and they have a lot of faith in you. So my next question will be off of that. So how do you build that kind of game? How do you build that kind of trust within your teammates in such a short amount of season?
Just like I said before, them relying on me is it's a good and it's a bad thing, but mostly it's a good thing because I know that my DS liberos are just you know what, you're gonna get it, and I hear where they want me to place the ball, which is an amazing thing. That's what we come in every day in practice. We're just you know what, we're gonna do this. And for my setter and Mayfield and Liz Perez, who just set tonight, we always come in, put in the work, and it's a lot of reps. But during the game, it feels amazing to be one of their powerful hitters, and being one of the top ranked on my team to be a powerful outside hitter.
And being that sophomore outside hitter, you do have a lot more experience with these upcoming freshmen that are just starting to transition into this college game. Is there anyone on this team that you kind of started to take under your wing to start to prepare to be that powerful outside hitter that the Hornets have?
Yes, Camille Castillo. Her ankle has been up and down with her, but seeing her coming in, putting in the work every practice, taking her time to do rehab, and seeing her back on the court, it really puts me out there you know what, they're gonna be okay next year with her as their starting outside hitter.
And I know you spoke on injuries right now, and injuries are always a big factor in the season, especially once you start to get later in the season. What does that do for your guys' team, having some of those key players on the injury list?
It sucks, but the thing about our team is that we never give up, and we're always taking anything that's thrown at us. Whether, me, today I was playing out opposite, which is very rare, but for us to go in and have the mindset, you know what, we have injured players, but we're all here together. We're going to play as a family.
Beautiful. Well, as you guys heard it here, I have Moretta Poe, outside hitter for the Fullerton College Hornets. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hi everybody, my name is Jacob Fisk and I'm here with Amelia Haas from the Fullerton College Volleyball team. A little bit of a tough loss here against Santa Ana Dons tonight.
Yeah, I think that right now our bench is just a little small. We have a couple of players out with injuries, such as myself, and so we're just kind of making do with what we have right now. But we will get a chance to play Santa Ana again at their place, and so I think once we have our players back and we're all ready, then I think we'll do much better, and it's going to be a really good game.
Now, I believe you have another player injured with a concussion as well. Do you know who she is?
Yes, Kaya Owens. She is an opposite, and her last game, she was having such a good game, and she was playing so well. So I know it just breaks her heart knowing that she won't be back out on the court yet, but when she does, I'm sure she'll come back, and she'll just pick up right where she left off.
And you mentioned you had a short bench earlier today. Sounded a little more quiet compared to your match last week against Golden West College. How do you think it felt today?
I think it was just harder to find that energy when we have less of our teammates next to us and around us. Like, we feed off of each other's energy, so when there's less people around us, it's really hard to kind of pick up and find that energy that we need to take us through the rest of the game.
Now, so far this season, the Hornets have been unable to win back-to-back matches. Do you think there's anything with the momentum issue?
I think it could be. Playing 2 games a week right now, I think how it has been set up is that we've lost our Wednesday game and then we've won our Friday game. So I think we just need to find that momentum, like you just said, and pick it up and use it. So hopefully on our Friday game, which is also a home game, we'll be able to get a win there, and then next week on that Wednesday, find that momentum so we can use it the rest of the conference.
Now, in the conference right now, you're currently 2 wins, 3 losses, losing to Cypress, Santa Ana tonight. Who do you think you're going to want to get payback more on, Cypress or Santa Ana?
I think Cypress, because on that very first set of our Cypress game, we won by a large margin. I believe there was over 10 points in that score difference in that first set that we played against them, and then we dropped the next 3. So we know we have them, we know we can take it, and it was also our first conference match, so we were kind of still getting into it, but at this point, I think we have it together, and we know what to expect from them. So that way when we play them again, we can really just go out strong and hopefully sweep them 3-0.
And it's kind of interesting because you said you won the first set against Cypress. These past 2 matches, it seems you have a little slow start in the first set and then gradually get better as the match goes on. Does it just seem a little inconsistent on how the way you guys start the match?
Yeah, I think the way we start a match is really important, and it seems that however we start it isn't always how we finish it. So once again, it's just finding that consistency, or even if we start a match a little under the energy or just not playing our best, just knowing that the first match is over, like the first set is over, and it's always we're on to the second match. Like, forget what happened in that first one, it's on to what is right now, like in the present.
And do you think the reason you're not able to get those consistent starts is maybe due to nerves or fatigue, or do you think there's any reason beyond that?
I think it could be anything because, of course, it is our first time playing each of these teams right now, so we don't know what to expect. We could be a little nervous, especially for the first couple points. And this game especially, we had players who were playing positions that they're not used to playing. Like Haley De La Riva, she played outside and she's normally a DS. We had Elizabeth Perez, who's set and she's normally a DS. And then Moretta Poe, she set and she's normally an outside hitter. So I think especially for instances like that where it's just really difficult to find your groove with something you're not used to. But yeah.
And you mentioned there's players playing in different positions. How do you practice playing from one position to another?
It's honestly just very abrupt because once we realize where we need our players to fill in, once we realize what positions we need, is when the next practice, you may have been being a DS on Monday's practice, but on Tuesday, you're ready to set. If you get thrown into it and then you just adapt as quick as you can, and your teammates are all there supporting you, just letting you know that you can do this. You may not be used to it, but just take your time, get used to feeling the position, and then you'll have the success that you want.
And when yourself and Kaya Owens returns from your concussion protocol, do you think that's going to make it easier for all the players to go back?
I think so, because everyone will be either going back to the positions they're most comfortable with, or if they continue to play the position that they're not necessarily used to, they would have had more reps and more touches in that thing that they're not familiar with. So they're kind of building up that muscle memory. So regardless of where the coach needs them, they're able to step in like that and they're ready.
And do you have any expectation on when yourself or Kaya Owens is going to be able to return to the court?
So thankfully, I should be back this Friday. Tomorrow, Thursday, will be my first full practice back. Kaya Owens, she just recently got on concussion protocol, so it could still be 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks. But I know she's ready whenever, and as soon as she gets cleared, she's ready to come out strong.
Thank you so much, as we wish you best on the rest of your season.
Thank you.
I'm here alongside Haley De La Riva on the Hornets volleyball team. Haley, last week you guys had an excellent game against the Rustlers. You guys were able to finish out really strong, 3-0 in the first set, being able to take that first set by a pretty good margin of about 8 to 9 points and finishing out the last two, getting those victories. What were some of the key things in last week's game that you guys think were really important?
I think that we all just like played together. Like we all just played as a team. Like we had really good energy, and I think that we just all were having fun, especially just because like that first set, like we finished like so good that first set. So like the energy just kept going to like the other two sets, and I think just whenever we have fun, like we always play our best.
Okay,
So.
very good. It helps carry that momentum into the further sets. I like that. So what are some of the things that you guys thought you were missing in today's matchup? Obviously, you guys went 0-3, so quite the opposite from last week's game, and you guys had Friday off, so a couple of extra days to rest. Do you think there might have been a little bit of a disconnect with that extra day off?
Yeah, so I think, because we do have like a few players out right now, so I think like that this didn't happen last game, so we were just already I guess worried about what was gonna happen just because we had those two hitters out. Like I don't hit, I'm a DS, so it was just like a lot of different changes, and we had like other people setting too. So I feel like we just were more worried about what we had to do because people are out, and we just were too jittery, I guess. Well, that's just how I was. So yeah, we just need to relax and calm down, have fun, just go with the flow.
And next week you guys have a little bit, Friday you guys have a little bit of an easier matchup. You guys are going up against Santiago Canyon, who's also in the Orange Empire Conference. While they're ranked a little bit lower than you, what are some of the things from tonight's game that you think need to go and carry over into Friday's match?
I think that we just need to have fun. We just need to make sure not to play down to their level. So I feel like if we ever do that, then that just ruins the momentum of what we're doing, and we're not playing as good as we could. We just need to have fun and just keep our energy up. Whenever we have energy, it's always a great game. So just keep that throughout the whole game, and then we'll be fine, I think.
And you guys have a couple of different lineups because of those injuries. I mean, how big of a factor is it missing some of those key players on your team?
Well, one is a setter. So a setter is a big part of the plays. So that changed a lot.
And that's Amelia, correct? Amelia.
Yeah. So she's out right now, but she should be back by Friday, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, make a good little comeback game.
Yeah, so hopefully we do better. But yeah, and then just because we had other setters come in too, so it was all just we just barely practiced this first yesterday, barely only once. So it was just us I don't know, we were just probably freaked out what was gonna happen with people playing different positions, but hopefully Friday's back to normal.
There you go, hopefully so. And you are a freshman, and so you are a defensive specialist, and as a freshman defensive specialist, you also have a sophomore who is kind of leading the way there. How have you guys been working together to start to get more comfortable and really take on that leadership position the following season?
I feel like me and Liz were both the freshman DS liberos, so I feel we're just ready for next year, for us to be the higher ones or whatever, just to go in. And I feel all of us we have a really good competitive we're not mean about it, I guess. We're just very competitive with each other, and I think that it pushes us all to do better. So.
And that's really important in a junior college program. I played lacrosse myself, and every single practice was really, really important on let's play as if we're going to play our game tomorrow, because it's going to help us be that much better. And I think it really does help you guys a lot as well. Well, you heard it here with Haley De La Riva from Fullerton College here at Colleen Riley Court. Thanks again for joining me.
Thank you.
Of course.
So we want to thank Jerry Roque and Jacob Fisk for joining us from volleyball, as they were able to join us from Colleen Riley Court and get us some post-game interviews. I'm Ryan Osborne. That's who you're listening to as we get set to take a look at what Fullerton College Football did on Saturday. You see the final score in front of you. On October the 1st, Fullerton 30, El Camino 23. Remember, Fullerton College entered that week with a top 10 ranking for the first time, since week number 2 when they were ranked number 8. Fullerton ends up getting back to number 8 and looking to move up. So they needed a decisive victory over El Camino to do exactly that. The question is, could they get that? El Camino on their very first drive of the game was able to convert on some points. They got a field goal, which was big for El Camino to get that opening score and get themselves on the board against a top 10 opponent. A 31-yard field goal from Mark Waronic, the second, ended up putting points on the board and giving the Warriors the lead. However, Fullerton looked at it and said, hey, we see your field goal. We're going to match it, but just about 6 more yards you can tack onto it. A 37-yarder from Faubert, and Fullerton College was able to match that and tie up the game at 3. Now, the special teams for both sides were really crucial. You see Waronic, the second on your left. He went 1 of 2 throughout the entire day with a long of 31, which you just saw, and an extra point rate of 2 of 3. Now, that missed extra point is going to prove to be crucial later on here in our recap, as it would almost be a decisive factor in the fourth quarter. Jonathan Faubert finishes the day 1 of 2 as well, a long of 37, which you just saw, and he finished 3 of 4 from extra point range as well. So 5 points for one side, 6 points for the other side, and again, the special teams for both teams would be really, really big on Saturday for how well each team was able to get themselves on the board and make decisions later on. Now, when you take a look at Fullerton College, their offense kind of struggled in that first quarter. They needed a little bit of time to set up and get into their rhythm. It really had a lot of reminiscence to week number 2 for Fullerton, where they ended up taking on Cerritos at home, and Fullerton just couldn't figure out how to get themselves into a rhythm offensively. Josh Calvin, who played really well in that matchup against Santa Ana, struggled a little bit in that matchup against against Cerritos. El Camino, kind of the same thing. For Calvin, the legs were established early on. The rushing game was there for Fullerton College, but through the air, it just seemed like Fullerton was really struggling to get themselves into that groove. Calvin here, however, in one of the early drives for Fullerton College in the second quarter, was able to set up a 1st and goal from inside the 5-yard line with his legs, and he'd bring Tyrell Green Jr. into the backfield with him, and Fullerton College would take the lead on the very next play as Tyrell Green Jr. gets himself on the board and makes it a 10-3 game for Fullerton College, which was huge for the Fullerton College Hornets because they were able to get that opening lead in the second. We've seen this season where Fullerton plays really well when they have a lead. They struggle a little bit when they're behind in ball games. Now you take a look at El Camino and Fullerton in terms of rushing yardage. 140 officially for Tyrell Green, 106 for Brian Santana Feast on the other side for El Camino. We'll have a little bit more on that in just a little bit. Now I mentioned officially for Tyrell Green because unofficially it seemed like he had more like 170, but nonetheless that was a big time score for Fullerton College. Now El Camino kind of looked at that score and said, you know what, we've got to put something together of our own. This is the very next play for El Camino. Brian Santana Feast right up the middle into some contact, breaks 3 different tackles, make it a 4th, and he's off to the races. A 60-yard touchdown run from Brian Santana Feast, who almost seemed like he was unstoppable, as Fullerton College just couldn't get him down with the first 2 to 3 guys who ended up with contact on Brian Santana Feast. We return to the stats as you see there. Brian Santana Feast on your left-hand side, 11 attempts for 106 and an average of 9.6. A long of 60 with that touchdown as you just saw there. That was the longest rush of the season for El Camino College, and it resulted in a touchdown. So the rushing games for both sides really working out pretty well. Makai Jordan, who you'll hear a little bit more, also contributing on those rushing yards. Now, when you flip it back over to Fullerton College, they needed a response. Very simply, they needed to get themselves up and down the field and present a scoring response to what El Camino had just done. Remember, Fullerton gets the lead and then gives it right back up on the very next play. Now, every time that Fullerton College has needed a response, they've gone to one man and one man only. Tyrell Green Jr., as you see there, with an over 30-yard run for Fullerton to get them a 1st and goal from inside the 6-yard line. Now, when you take a look at how well Tyrell Green played on Saturday, it just seemed like every single time that he touched the ball, he was going for 8, 10, 12 yards, and he rattled off a couple of 30-yarders as well. Initially, Fullerton had the opportunity to go to Gibson on the left-hand side of your screen, finished off as a pass interference call that set up Fullerton for an automatic first down inside the 5 once again, half the distance to the goal, and with a 10-10 tie in the second quarter, Fullerton still needed to take the lead in the first half. Now, when you take a look at Fullerton in the first half of games so far this season, they have struggled a little bit to get a natural rhythm, to get a real lead for themselves going into the half. We saw it a couple weeks ago against College of the Canyons as well, where they got a little bit of a lead, but it wasn't enough to make them feel comfortable. So, for the Hornets, the big thing was going towards the end of the second quarter, they had to get themselves on the board once more. And they would do exactly that as Calvin threw it over to Gibson on his left-hand side. That would increase the lead to a 1-score margin. So the Hornets ended up with a 16-10 lead over top of the Warriors, which was big for Fullerton College. You take a look at Josh Calvin, he finished 8 of 15, 92 yards, and a touchdown, a long of 36. Now, as we would go in towards the second half and the third quarter as well, Josh Calvin would have to leave the game with an injury. So that caused Brandon Nunez to take over at quarterback, which presented a different timeline for Fullerton College. We'll get some more on that in just a little bit. The Warriors needed a response of their own coming out of the half. Mekhi Jordan did a really good job of commanding the offense for El Camino and very nearly getting his team to a big-time upset over a top 8 opponent in Fullerton College. As Mekhi Jordan dropped back, a dart right on the dime, he will end up finding Marquise Yet with a 50-yard touchdown pass from Mekhi Jordan to make it a grand total of 17-16. El Camino would take the lead. Now you turn around and look at the Fullerton College defense. Besides those broken tackles that we saw a few moments ago, Fullerton College just seemed like they weren't able to get into the backfield as much as they would have liked. They finished with a grand total of 3 sacks overall in the game and a few tackles for loss, just about 6 on the day, but they had trouble containing Mekhi Jordan. Now, overall, the pass breakups, the blocks as well, and quarterback hits were there for Fullerton in the secondary, but they just weren't able to get to Mekhi Jordan or at least contain him because he had some big-time rushes in the second half of play. So, the defense for Fullerton kept Fullerton in the game. They just weren't able to find that big-time break for the Fullerton College defense. Now, the Warriors with a 1-point lead set up shop inside the 5-yard line. It was crucial that they get back on the board because El Camino, once again, was looking for their second top 10 victory in the last 2 years. And they get another score here to make it a 23-16 game as Stephen Bradford ran it in for 5 yards. Now, here's where things get tricky. Blocked extra point. That gave Fullerton's special teams not only the momentum, but it also changed the way that Fullerton would end up driving down the field. They got to be more aggressive because they were only inside of a 7-point deficit. Nunez would end up dropping back, turning to his right, and taking off for a touchdown, and Fullerton College would be able to tie it up on that play because of the blocked extra point. The special teams comes up big for the Hornets and gives them an opportunity late in the game to find themselves with an opportunity to win. Under 4 minutes left to play. Ball at the 34-yard line. And who do they give it to? Well, none other than the man himself, Tyrell Green Jr., who ended up with over 130 yards rushing all the way to the house he would take it, and that would essentially seal the game for Fullerton College as the Fullerton College Hornets would take a 30-23 lead and finish off the fourth quarter of play. They'd finish off the game overall and move up to 4-1 this season and find themselves not only inside the top 10, but looking to improve on a top 8 ranking in the state of California. You take a look at how both teams ended up kind of panning out in terms of overall offense. 23 first downs to 17 for El Camino. Third down efficiency wasn't good on either side. Very blocky type of grinded out type of game for both teams in El Camino and Fullerton. 36% for Fullerton College, 17% on 3 of 18 for El Camino. And when you take a look at fourth down efficiency, both teams would have to go for it multiple times. 50%, 33%. Overall total offense for Fullerton, 455 yards because they had 220 yards rushing. The rushing game was there for the Fullerton College Hornets, and it led them throughout the entire day. The other side for El Camino, 195. That's what they got net yards rushing, and it helped them keep themselves in the game and would prove to be crucial. So that's the end of the statistics between Fullerton and El Camino. We remind you of the score. 30-23, the final. El Camino would end up dropping to 2-2 this season, while Fullerton moves up to 4-1, which means that that's going to end up really helping them in the rankings. And also, when you take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard, well, Fullerton College would really need that extra victory and that 4-1 record going into going into the bye. Taking a look, and speaking of that out-of-town scoreboard, Butte ends up having a 28-21 loss to San Mateo. San Mateo goes to 5-0 this season. Butte, who looked like they were going to be a top 5 team throughout the entire season, they dropped to 3-2. So that's a big-time matchup, and San Mateo, arguably, possibly the number 1 team in the state. For now, they're sitting at 2. San Francisco, a fall from grace over the last 2 weeks. Back-to-back weeks where they end up with a loss. Sierra College with a 4-1 record now. They look fantastic to start the year. They beat them 14-10. So a 1-score victory for Sierra, and now you're probably going to see them in the top 10 in this next coming up rankings. Canyons and Riverside, oh so close for Canyons, as they were within 3 points of getting to Riverside and taking down the number 1 team in the nation. That's right, not just California, but in the nation, but they end up dropping it 31-28. Ellen Hancock and Mount Sac, well, Mount Sac, they just rolled on Saturday. It wasn't even close. 27 points in the second quarter. Their 2s and 3s put up 14 points in the third, and Mount Sac, the Mounties, just looked fantastic, as Ellen Hancock didn't really prove to be up to the task against Mount Sac. Ventura, almost an upset. Saddleback 1-4. That's a team that people need to watch for a little bit more, because yes, they've had a down season overall, but they seem to be close with every single top 10 team that they face so far this season. 42-37, Ventura with a 5-point win. Back here in Southern California, a big upset. East LA takes down number 4 Cerritos. Cerritos drops to 4-1. East LA goes up to 3-2. They finish with a 30-26 win, as they took the lead with under 30 seconds to play in the fourth quarter there. So that'll do it for our out-of-town scoreboard. You take a look at the rankings right now. Riverside City College with 10 first-place votes. They took almost all of them, almost unanimous. And then College of San Mateo right behind them with Mount Sac and Golden West 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then Sierra and Fullerton back-to-back. We talked about Sierra having that big-time upset over City College of San Francisco. They move up to number 5. Fullerton and Ventura tied at number 6. So that's where the Fullerton College Hornets will find themselves coming out of the bye week. Laney and Cerritos with Butte. That rounds out the top 10 in the state of California, which is going to be big for Fullerton College. If you are a Hornet fan, you're looking at it saying, you know what, top 6 is pretty nice. You're sitting in a good spot, now looking for a chance to continue things in conference play, with San Bernardino Valley looming on Thursday, not Saturday. That's going to do it for us at the Coaches Show. I'm Ryan Osborne, thanking you for joining us on 90.1 KBPK.